The champion show jumper stood in front of the fence he'd cleared 1,000 times before, and he couldn't move. 2 months earlier, Thunder had fallen at this exact jump during the national championships, crashed hard, injured his rider, ended their Olympic dream. Now, every time he approached that fence, his body remembered. His muscles locked, his breath quickened, and no matter what his trainer tried, Thunder refused to jump. Not because he couldn't physically do it, but because his brain had filed that fence under danger, never again. This is the story of how a sports psychologist, a stubborn trainer, and one radical experiment taught Thunder, and eventually thousands of people, how to overwrite failure in your brain's code. Because the problem isn't that you failed, it's that your mind keeps replaying the failure until it becomes your identity. Thunder was a rising star. At 7 years old, he and his rider Jordan were ranked number 3 nationally in show jumping. Olympic qualifiers were 8 weeks away. Then came the national championships. The course was perfect. Thunder was flawless through the first 12 jumps. Then jumped number 13, a triple combination with rails at 1.5 meters. Thunder launched, but Jordan shifted weight a fraction too early. Thunder's trajectory was off by inches. His front hoof clipped the top rail. He crashed. Jordan was thrown. Thunder tumbled, legs tangled in rails. The crowd gasped. Medical teams rushed in. Jordan, broken collarbone and concussion, out for 6 months. Olympic dream over. Thunder, physically fine. No fractures, no tears. Vet cleared him in 2 weeks. But mentally, Thunder was shattered. The first time Jordan's assistant tried to get Thunder to jump after the accident, he refused. Not just that fence, every fence. He'd approach, then slam on the brakes 10 feet out. Ears pinned back, trembling, sweating. The trainer tried everything. Lower fences. Thunder refused even 2-foot jumps he could step over. Different arenas. Didn't matter where. All jumps triggered panic. Different riders. Thunder's fear wasn't tied to Jordan. It was tied to the act of jumping. A equine veterinarian ran tests. No physical pain, no injury. The diagnosis was purely psychological. Thunder's brain had created what psychologists call a traumatic association. The fence wasn't just a fence anymore. It was coded as a threat to survival, and no amount of logic could override that primal response. Jordan's parallel struggle. Jordan, recovering from his injuries, faced the same mental block. Physically healed after 3 months, he tried to get back on a horse. And he couldn't. Every time he approached the saddle, his body would flood with adrenaline, heart racing, hands shaking, flashbacks of the fall. He'd ridden horses since he was 6. He'd fallen dozens of times before without fear. But this fall, the one that cost him the Olympics, had rewired something deep in his brain. Jordan started avoiding the barn, making excuses, canceling training sessions. His coach asked, "Are you scared of getting hurt again?" Jordan replied, "No, I'm scared of failing again. That fall wasn't just an injury. It was proof that I'm not good enough for the Olympics, and I don't know how to unbelieve that." Jordan's coach reached out to Dr. Nina Patel, a sports psychologist who specialized in performance anxiety and trauma recovery. Dr. Patel had worked with Olympic athletes who'd choked in finals, tennis players who couldn't serve after injuries, and fighters who froze after devastating knockouts. Her specialty, reprogramming failure response. She came to the barn to meet Thunder and Jordan. After observing for an hour, she said something that stunned them. Thunder's problem isn't that he remembers the fall. It's that he's rehearsing it. Every time he approaches a jump, he's running a mental simulation of failure, and you, she looked at Jordan, are doing the exact same thing. Dr. Patel explained the neuroscience. When you experience a traumatic failure, your brain stores it in the amygdala, the fear center, as a survival lesson. Every time you encounter a similar scenario, the amygdala screams, "Remember last time? Don't do that again." This is useful if the threat is real. Don't touch the hot stove twice. But when the threat is actually an opportunity, jumping, competing, starting a business, this mechanism becomes a cage. Most people try to overcome this with logic. It was just one fall. I'm fine now. I can do this. But logic doesn't speak to the amygdala. The amygdala only understands experience. So Dr. Patel's protocol wasn't about convincing Thunder or Jordan that they were safe. It was about creating new experiences that override the old pattern. Phase 1. Disrupt the pattern. Dr. Patel started with Thunder. Instead of trying to get him to jump again, she did something bizarre. She had the trainers build a jump course with no jumps, just poles on the ground. Thunder could step over them easily. No height, no risk, no chance of falling. For 2 weeks, Thunder walked over ground poles. Boring, safe, zero adrenaline. The goal: reset the association between course and danger. By day 14, Thunder's body language around poles was relaxed. No trembling, no refusal, just calm steps. Phase 2. Microscopic escalation. Week 3, Dr. Patel raised the poles by 2 inches. Literally, 2 inches off the ground. Still laughably easy, but slightly different than walking. Thunder hesitated, then stepped over. No panic. Every 3 days, poles went up 2 more inches. By week 6, the poles were 8 inches high, enough that Thunder had to hop slightly. Still not a jump, but closer. The key: each increment was so small that Thunder's amygdala didn't trigger the alarm. He wasn't jumping again, he was just doing a slightly bigger version of the thing he'd already done successfully 50 times. Phase 3. The fake fence. Week 8, Dr. Patel introduced a full-height fence, but with one twist. The rails were made of foam pool noodles. If Thunder touched them, they'd bend harmlessly. Zero consequence for failure. Thunder approached, hesitated, jumped, clipped the rail. It flopped. He landed safely. His brain registered. I hit the rail. Nothing bad happened. They did this 30 times. Thunder hit the rail 12 times. 0 injuries, 0 drama. The amygdala's threat association began to weaken. Maybe rails aren't dangerous. Maybe this is just data. Phase 4. The real jump, with a safety net. Week 10, Dr. Patel set up a real jump at competition height, but in a foam pit, like gymnasts use. If Thunder fell, he'd land in foam. No injury possible. Thunder jumped, cleared it. Then they raised it higher. He clipped the rail, fell into foam, climbed out, unhurt. They repeated this 15 times. Thunder fell 3 times and walked away from all 3. His brain finally registered the new truth. Falling catastrophe. Falling. Try again. Week 12. The comeback jump. Dr. Patel brought Thunder back to the original fence where he'd crashed. Same arena, same height, same triple combination. Thunder stood 20 feet away, his body tensed. Old memories flickered. Then Jordan, now back in the saddle after his own mental reset, whispered, "You've jumped harder fences 50 times in the last month. This one is just another rep." Thunder approached and jumped. Clean. Perfect. No hesitation. The crowd, a small group of barn staff, erupted in tears. Thunder had just overwritten his failure code. Jordan's reset. Dr. Patel used the same protocol with Jordan. Week 1-2. Sat on a stationary horse. No riding, just sitting. Week 3-4. Walked on a horse in a small circle. Week 5-6. Trotted over ground poles. Week 7-8. Small jumps in foam pit. Week 9. Returned to the original fence. By the time Jordan faced the failure fence, it was just another jump he'd successfully done 200 smaller versions of. His amygdala didn't scream danger. It registered routine. 6 months later, Jordan and Thunder qualified for the Olympics. They didn't medal, but they competed. And that was the victory. Dr. Patel sat with Jordan after the Olympics and explained what they'd actually done. Most people think getting over failure means being brave enough to try again. But that's not how the brain works. The brain doesn't care about courage, it cares about patterns. Thunder didn't get brave. He accumulated 300 successful reps that overwrote the one catastrophic failure. You can't think your way out of a failure loop. You have to out-rep it. Dr. Patel started working with entrepreneurs, athletes, and performers who were stuck in failure loops. The founder who had a startup fail and couldn't start another. The salesperson who got rejected harshly and stopped cold calling. The writer who got a scathing review and stopped publishing. All same pattern. One big failure, Brain codes it as identity. Paralysis. Her protocol. Step 1. Identify the failure fence. What's the thing you're avoiding because you failed at it once? Step 2. Find the 2% version. What's the tiniest action in that direction that triggers zero fear? Example. Failure. My startup failed. 2% version. Write one business idea on a napkin. Failure. I got rejected on a sales call. 2% version. Send one friendly email to a past client. Step 3. Do the 2% version daily for 30 days. Accumulate reps. Let your brain register this activity catastrophe. Step 4. Increase by 2% every week. Week 5. 2 business ideas. 1 longer email. Week 10. Pitch 1 idea to a friend. Make 1 low-stakes call. By week 20, you're doing the full height jump, but it doesn't feel scary because you've done 500 smaller versions. Step 5. Celebrate reps, not results. Thunder's victory wasn't clearing the fence perfectly. It was attempting 300 times without quitting. Your victory isn't closing the deal or getting the medal. It's showing up every day to do the 2% version. Dr. Patel explains why just move on doesn't work. The amygdala's job is to protect you. So when you fail catastrophically, it marks that scenario as high-priority threat and keeps it front of mind. Every time you think about trying again, the amygdala pulls up the failure file. Remember what happened last time? Let's not. This is called consolidation. The brain strengthens memories that have emotional weight, especially fear. The only way to weaken consolidation is reconsolidation, creating new memories in the same context that contradict the old fear. Thunder didn't forget the fall. He just built 300 memories of successful jumps that made the one fall statistically irrelevant. Dr. Patel's golden rule: you need 10 successful reps to overwrite 1 traumatic failure. If you failed once at launching a product, you need 10 small launches, even terrible ones, to reset the pattern. If you got rejected once harshly, you need 10 mild rejections where you survive to prove rejection death. Most people quit after 2 to 3 reps because it's not working. But 2 to 3 reps aren't enough to overwrite the neurological pattern. You need volume, reps, boring, repetitive, unglamorous attempts. Thunder's legacy. Thunder competed for 3 more years. He never had another catastrophic fall. But he did clip rails, have awkward landings, and make mistakes. The difference? Mistakes didn't define him anymore. They were just data. Jordan went on to coach young riders. His #1 lesson: failure isn't the opposite of success. It's rehearsal for success, but only if you don't let one bad rep become your final performance. Dr. Patel's clients who applied the protocol: Sarah, failed startup founder, paralyzed for 18 months after her company collapsed, started with 2% version, wrote 1 business idea a day for 60 days. Week 20, launched a micro product, made 300. Year 2, built a 400K a year business. Key insight: I didn't get brave, I just out-repped the fear. Tom, rejected salesperson, stopped cold calling after a prospect yelled at him, started with 2% version, sent 1 friendly text to past clients daily. Week 12, made 1 call a day to warm leads, low stakes. Week 30, back to cold calling, closed 80K in 90 days. Key insight: I had 1 bad call, then I had 200 good ones. Math wins. Maya, scathing book review author, stopped writing after a 1-star review crushed her. Started with 2% version, wrote 100 words a day for herself, unpublished. Week 16, posted 1 short story online, got positive feedback. Week 40, published 2nd book, became bestseller. Key insight: the bad review was 1 data point. I needed 1,000 data points to dilute it. Dr. Patel's framework: failure identity. Failure, chakin, 1 rep in 1,000. If you've done something once and failed, your sample size is too small to draw conclusions. You don't need to be braver. You need to collect more data until the failure is statistically insignificant. Thunder's 1 fall among 1,000 successful jumps. 0.1% failure rate. Irrelevant. Your 1 failed launch among 50 small experiments. 2% failure rate. Learning curve. The problem isn't the failure. It's stopping at rep 1. If you failed once and stopped trying, you're not protecting yourself from future failure. You're guaranteeing it. Because the only permanent failure is the one you let define you. Thunder didn't forget the fall. He just buried it under 300 successful jumps. You won't forget your failure either, but you can make it irrelevant by accumulating so many reps that it becomes noise in the data. Start with the 2% version. Do it daily. Let the reps stack. In 6 months, your failure won't haunt you. It'll be that one time you fell before you figured it out. Jump again. Even if you clip the rail, especially if you clip the rail, because that's just data, and data builds champions.